E parawhenua e. Ki tako atu ki tau maara matuku atu wau ka puti ki tau whangawhanga nui.
Maori
nei
desu.
ko papatū nuku he aia. Tu atu te makariri. Haere mai te ohio muri hiku. I ka rātuku ka kautete. I ka rātuku ka pūpū. I ka rātuku ka te hoata. Ka more more o te rangi. Haumi e, ui e, tāi ki e.
歓迎の言葉です。
In November of 2015,
2015年の11月、マヤ力マオリの地熱アドバイザリーグループは、この1万メガワットのこの海気焼きの事業に関しまして、ニュージーランド地熱協会の会議で発表を行いました。これは私たちにとりまして、このニュージーランドの地熱ネットワークの中で私たちの存在を知らしめるという意味で非常に良い機会だったと思います。今年は私たちは今回この
present here at the Japanese New Zealand workshop. We will do that in 3 parts. I will give a cultural narrative around the geothermal origins of New Zealand. We're quite fortunate to have 2 gentlemen here that I aspire to. One of them is the chairman of the Maori Maori Geothermal Advisory Group, Kaumātua and Tribal Elder. He will give you a very brief summary of the tribal aspirations. Following him, we have another tribal leader and head of one of this city's probably most active in terms of industrial development, tribal leaders. So, koina. Te wera me tahi. Te wera me tahi will offer tangata whenua, people of the land, narrative in the form of pūrākau, which contributes to the framework for cultural, spiritual and traditional association of whānau, hapu and iwi to geothermal energy and its origins. So what are pūrākau? Pūrākau were a traditional means by which our ancestors recorded for perpetuity traditional knowledge. Far more than the campfire story, far more than the tales of heroes' conquests or spiritual races, mythical creatures, pūrākau loosely translated precise knowledge were shared among a selected few and considered pono, stories which recall important fact, detail not to be taken lightly or treated disrespectfully. They could be in the form of motetea, traditional song, poem or lullaby, whakatauki, utterance or proverb, of which there are many. More often than not, these are kōrero tuku iho, or stories handed down from our tupuna. These forms of Indigenous knowledge contribute to the framework for cultural, spiritual and traditional connectedness that whānau, hapu and iwi have to the natural resources within their tribal estates. These frameworks help us apply reason to inform decisions that shape our futures. This is particularly the case in relation to contemporary issues such as those relating to the environment and the future management of natural resources. The pūrākau being offered today combines 2 media. The first, a modern animation of a traditional narrative, and the second, a song in waiata tawhito traditional style. Each in their own way will, among other things, recall a journey of exploration by one of our ancestors soon after his arrival here in Aotearoa. His name was Ngā Toruirangi. E kia nei te kōrero. Ko pūhaurangi he atua ki te rangi, ka moia te kura e mōnoa. Ka puta ko ho mairangi, nāna ko rua muturangi, nāna ko taunga, nāna ko mawake, nāna ko uruika, nāna ko te rangi tapu, nāna ko atua matua, nāna ko rakauri, ka moia mōrunga e tarangi, ka puta ko Ngā Toruirangi. Ngā Toruirangi was a tohunga or spiritual expert. Descended from chiefly bloodlines of the heavens, born with the command of both physical and spiritual realms, Ngā Toro was also a navigator of the Great Canoe in Waka Tarawa, which made its final landfall at Okurai, Maketu, in the Bay of Plenty, where it remains today. Me Timata, composed in Waiata Tawhito traditional song style, recalls an oral tradition maintained by Tarawa in regards to the origins of geothermal activity within the Wairiki Rohe, mai Maketu ki Tongariro. From Maketu to Tongariro. It's among the opening lines of the Waiata our journey begins. Me timata i ngā toro I rangi, I pikitia ke ai ki te tihi o Tongariro. My journey begins way back in the time when Ngā Toro I rangi climbed the peaks of Mount Tongariro. Ka kinongia tana kiri I te mātau. Suddenly his skin showed signs of deadly frostbite. Ka au atu rā ki o na tuahine. Ka haria mai te ahi I te wā kāinga. He called to his sisters in Hawaii to bring him warmth. Kia ngata rā te hiahia, ka haruru mai te whenua ao te whenua pō. Hearing his plea, they travelled below and above ground. Ka tatu mai ki tana taha, ma hui atu ia rāua te wera me te ahi I te tahata. Wherever they rested, they left their warmth and heat and fire. Ka mā te toru, ka mā raratia, no hoi hurā te mamāua ki te whakarewarewa, te tūnga o te opataua a wāhia. The warmth spread throughout the Bay of Plenty. Some of it was left at the whakarewarewa, home of the chief wāhia and his warriors. Whakarewarewa e ho mā, whakarewarewa is where we are today. Behind me, directly behind me, about 50 metres that way, that's the Whakarewarewa Valley, Thermal Valley. This is where we are today. The Waiata goes on to name 20 of the more than 180 ngāwha that were named by our tupunas and ancestors and the tribal descendants who resided in that valley since 1350. That's why we have Waiatas, they don't break down. Go back to slideshow and go right to that. And then. Click on there, go to slideshow, click on there. And no sound. That's it. Shall I sing it? Have you started again? Oh. Yeah. The gods aren't willing, so here's plan B. Kei tua
mai ko te waroa ngā wai kei ko atu ko te wai ani ho tahi ki a peke atu ki roto ho puaringa ki a rere te tai me mihi atu rā ki ngā mō kai a kōko e ko hua hua rā ko te miti miti ko wai ko rua ko parenga tata ko tūtai ko ko me hoki au ki te awa kei ko mai ko wai ruka ko tiko rangi i wera mai te moana ia te korokoro ko te hoa ko kereru ko te wai o ranga o rātou ko wai korohi ko te mahanga ko ko mutu mutu ka heke ai te roke ko wai paru ki a whiti atu ki puha kua e atu whakairahi a mai a ko pahutu te whakami harotanga o te ao e pāhiri mai ko papa kura kei mai ngā nui ko te poke a runga hine noho i hura ko pura pura wheku ko ngā rara tua taraki ati kamokaro atu rā e tū ana i te take a pātu roa ka rongo ia te kume te kote no hanga te rā o tū ahonoa ki ati pi atu au ki te tūranga o te tuku tuku me whakatata ki te ana o te ki te rangi kati te ra whakararo ki te angarata te pātaka o te whakange ki atu pato kei pahua wei ki te auera ko te rangi aniwa niwa te mahu e tanga o ngā puna ka whitoi wai ranga i hora e tara wera katu me ke tonu au ki te kiri ki te mimi ki te wai o pare pārangi ki a whakata mai au ki roto ka napa napa ki a puhia te kanori te haume o ki au ki te pāo te puhia ka whakarongo aku taringa ki te tangi o roto whia te oki oki ngā te tini me te mano tu ana mai ko te ala tui arua te katoi hora ko te ala wai hei tohua te rau tau ara tōrua e moana te ala i kauria i hora e hine moa e uria te ala ka wai o tu haurangi e kokoia e arai
In conclusion, I'd like to make the following comments. Traditional knowledge pertaining to the tribal estate is as relevant now as it was when it became part of the tribe's history. From the time of Ngā Toroirangi, geothermal heat and energy have been considered taonga tuku iho, precious gifts provided by the gods for our use. Tarawa have since then utilised these for numerous domestic purpose and through trial and error discovered the different healing qualities ngā whā hot pools possess. This vast knowledge and routine of practice have become the traditional fabric which have defined these geothermal communities. O hene mutu, ngā puna, and whakarewarewa. Today, Maori are no longer just resource rich. Many of us are now in industry partnerships at the forefront of geothermal direct use. We are resource owners, we are developers, and we are investors who are interested in the economic development opportunities and support the constructive decision around the sustainable direct and indirect use of natural resources. We recognise that there are significant economic growth opportunities for both Maori and the wider New Zealand community to work constructively together to realise the potential of those resources. But we're also kaitiaki, stewards who shoulder the burden of responsibility to care for and protect those taonga entrusted to us. The expression of which we call kaitiakitanga, stewardship, actively working to halt further degradation of all natural environments in our care. We seek to develop and utilise these special resources in a sustainable way, such that they are able to continue to support and provide for the generations to come. Nō reira e te iwi, koutou rā e noho mai nā ki runga ki tō tātou hui tahi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Before I leave, I'll just introduce to you Chairman of the Waiariki Maori Geothermal Advisory Group, Alec Wilson. Kei au koe.
Kia ora tātou. Today is another turning point for my people. As the Maori economy grows, Maori enterprisemanship grows with it. So does our cultural values come to the fore. We also look for enterprises to be able to expand and do well to keep our people in employment and other things connected with it, like health, welfare. Geothermal has helped our people through a lot in the years. I can remember not too long ago when I was playing rugby. At Ohinumutu, there was 2 pools. One they called the Radium, and the other one they called Mitchell Pool. And the Mitchell Pool was there where everyone used to soak because it was tepid. The other one, the other pool, was where we got in when your body was battered and bruised from tackling and playing rugby. And it brought the bruises out and virtually healed you overnight. You could get out of that hot pool, the Radium pool, and the next day you were in training again without no physiotherapist or anything. So it kept me going for a long time. The other part of my people is the economics. Today, we have moved in, as you heard Taparoto say, we have become economically viable, in other words. We are now developing our resources, our own resources. But we have different values to councils and authorities that make rules that sometimes do not suit us. So our values are really handed down from our elders is to look after your resources. And some of those rules that come out does not heed that. So we, as a people, are traveling journeys. We've gone into retail development. We're doing all sorts of things. Farming, you name it, we're doing it. But we're also looking for relationships so that we can expand our knowledge and also help those who need a bit of our knowledge. So today is a day for me being here with our friends from Japan. Early on, you heard Taparoto say that the prince from your country in 1926 arrived here and he was asked to open our meeting house to Mahaurangi. He opened it and he was welcomed by my elders of that day. Today, I welcomed you like my elders did in that time. Today, I give you open arms to come and seek our knowledge and have business relationships with us so that we may further both our people. So, to GNS, I have been with you for a very long time. And it's always been a very, very good relationship. They've taught me a lot, and I think I've handed a little bit of knowledge on to them. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Morera, tēnā koutou, a tēnā koutou katoa. The next person is my boss. Malcolm Short is the chairman of Pukeroa o Ruapata. Malcolm.
Kia ora tātou te hui. As Alex said, I'm not his boss, I'm a partner in the business with him. We're all equal in our team. But as chairman, I suppose I just get one nod ahead of him. So welcome to the presentation that I'm about to give. Just to wrap up the presentation by Taparoto, you saw how back in Maori mythology, the geothermal heat arrived here on the back of a couple of wild women, we should say, princesses of fire. And to that extent, I'd like to show you how we are taking that further and developing on a site of ours on the lakefront a new spa development using the current geothermal bores that we have on site. We have 2 production bores and 1 re-injection bore. I think the bores are around 185 degrees centigrade. So there's a bit of a cooling technique needed before you go bathing in it. So I'll just quickly run through a wee presentation that we have prepared. Yep, next one. And just in reading from there, you'll see how tourism has really made Rotorua. Look at that, the numbers and visitors, and those numbers are all taken from Te Puia, where Taparoto is in charge there, and you'll see that the visitor numbers there and what we have developed. It's the home of cultural tourism. People come to see Maori performing their cultural performances, the geothermal to partake of that, and of course, through our magnificent forests, there are huge mountain biking trails. And that's a big draw card for the people who live mainly in Auckland, but from all over the country, they come to visit with us. And this development I'm speaking about is across, right on the lakefront there. A subsidiary company of the Pukeroa o Ruapara Trust is our Pukeroa Lakefront Holdings, where you see it's 100% iwi owned. We have huge benefits and employment opportunities for our people, and it's managed by an Australian company who have helped us develop them. This is Belgravia Leisure. They operate some 5 or 6 spa developments in Australia, as well as in the leisure industry, on ski fields, in public pools. They have a, I think the employees number around 4,800. So they're big in the game, and they are assisting us hugely with the development of this project. The first stage of this health and wellness program is orientated as a tourism precinct, the spa design and operation reflecting Maori spa culture. Kia ora. The built design is infused with the story of our tupuna mentioned by Taparoto, Ngā Toroirangi. The spa practices reflects 650 years of living right here in this village you see under the screen there, utilising that geothermal resource for bathing, cooking, and as you heard Alex say, for healing wounds from battle on the sports field. And to the next one, this is the actual lakefront site where you'll see where the yellow ring is where the spa will actually be built. The spa is taking up in that yellow circle, it's 110 metres long by 60 metres wide. So it's quite a big covered area with a few open spaces throughout. As you see there, the 11.4 hectares is a large site, and right around that red line will be the future development. There's a hospital in the front corner here, down the bottom there, we're going to rebuild or redesign and move them back a bit. They're on a fairly prime site right up front, so we're looking at relocating them. And then we'll have a view shaft through to the bathhouse building, which is just out of view there. And I think for the city it will be a huge step towards Rotorua's return to the spa city of the South Pacific. That's our aim. Now, did we have one of just the building there? That one, yeah. There's the artist's impression of the entry into the spa, and through the other door out the front is the lake edge, and there should be one of them pools. Oh, that's the view inside, and that's the pools behind a glass front there, which will be overlooking the lake. So with that short introduction, I'd like to thank you all for your attendance, and Pukeroa are looking forward to be part of the geothermal scene for some time yet here in Rotorua. Thank you.